It was reported this week that in his ongoing efforts to evict his brother from Royal Lodge, Charles has decided to cut off Andrew's security, which he has been paying for privately since 2022, when he lost police protection from the Home Office when his involvement in the Epstein case came to light, and where he had to settle a multi-million-dollar civil suit filed by his then teenage victim, Virginia Giuffre. In addition, there was the embarrassing Newsnight interview that has now been memorialized into a Netflix film where we learned, among other things, that Andrew has a strange adult obsession with teddy bears. Now, here's the thing with Royal Lodge. Andrew signed a 75-year lease back in 2003 to the Crown Estate, which at the time fell under the purview of his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth II. The lease also provides for the property to be passed down to his heirs upon his death. And Andrew is said to want to hold on to the property for this reason. But not if his big brother has a say. And you might be saying, well, it's a lease. Isn't a lease a legal document? I mean, what's the point of having a legal document if the monarch can just rescind it? Well, stipulated in the lease is the requirement to maintain the upkeep of the property, which Andrew hasn't been able to do since he doesn't have any money, and since he's no longer a working royal. And I say that loosely. His financial support was severed. Now, it is said that Andrew was the Queen's favorite. And folks, seeing how Charles reacts to everyone in his orbit, be it his late wife to his younger son, it is obvious that he does not like it when anyone else is at the center of attention. His jealousy for Diana was well known, and it was even reported that his father, the late Prince Philip, was somewhat apprehensive about his son, the heir, ascending the throne. I wonder if you remember this incident that happened back in 1995 when a butler working for Charles told the story of Charles dropping a cufflink down the sink, and in his frustration, he proceeded to rip the sink out of the wall. He then followed up his anger by grabbing his butler by the throat, causing the man to retreat into a closet until the coast was clear. At another time, he was sojourning in the south of France, where he felt he was being suffocated by the heat in his private room. What was his reaction, you might ask? He proceeded to smash all the windows of his room. Perfectly normal behavior, right? And who can forget Charles's questionable association with Jimmy Savile, who spent so much time with the heir, he was able to simply walk onto the property anytime he felt like it. Charles has come out relatively unscathed since it was revealed that Savile was an actual monster. The press hasn't tried to tie him to Savile, though, and for all we know, with their penchant for erasing articles on the internet, they're probably wiping clean all traces of their association as I speak. It's no wonder that his own mother, the late Queen herself, had serious doubts about his ability to reign. And by reign, what is meant really? Well, simply put, to keep the monarchy intact. And there are reports indicating that his parents had serious doubts in his ability to do that. But the monarchy, like much of what dictates society in Britain, is controlled by a paradigm of medieval customs. I came across this article about Hugh Grosvenor, who recently got married and who is reported to be estimated a net worth of approximately £10 billion. And there was this curious little nugget about male primogeniture. Now, I've talked about the concept of primogeniture in a previous video, and it's basically exercising a preference for the firstborn in order to preserve land ownership to a direct familial line. However, Britain has long practiced male primogeniture, which specifically favors a male heir. And so Hugh, despite being the youngest, ultimately inherited everything and his siblings got nothing. Folks, do you get the feeling that this country is pitifully stuck in the past, and that these archaic traditions written into their culture at a very different time when society was based on the dynamics between lord and serf are really doing nothing to advance the conditions of the modern people? Concentrations of wealth passed down through generations based on peerages, which are themselves the result of nepotism and its close ally cronyism, serve as a kind of cultural inbreeding that produces inferior results. The refusal to evolve seems based on some romanticized nostalgia for a time when their imperial powers were at its heights. Other monarchies across Europe have managed to modernize themselves to a level that is more in line with present-day society. And folks, the way they're fighting over this property, you would think they had nowhere else to live. Now, why is Charles so intent on evicting his brother from Royal Lodge? Well, recently the press reported that he wants to prepare the property for William and Kate. Okay, but don't they already live at Amner Hall or Kensington Palace, or is it Adelaide Cottage? I don't know. Why do they need all these properties? Well, Royal Lodge is considered to be the crown jewel in the firm's real estate portfolio, and some reports claim that Charles thinks it will be more fitting for the heir to the throne. But folks, I think that's just an excuse. The real reason Andrew's getting the boot is that Charles wants the property for, wait for it, Camilla, who, by the way, already has her own grand property provided to her by Charles many years ago. It was reported a few weeks back that Camilla is terrified of losing Charles. And well, why shouldn't she be? He is, after all, her man, has been for ages. But by securing Royal Lodge for herself, Camilla sees it as a kind of security. It seems Charles's health may be on the decline, and this article even mentioned that he went to have cancer treatment prior to leaving for Scotland, a detail that is often missing when it comes to Kate. Now, when Charles dies, William will, of course, become the new king, and Kate will become the new queen consort. Camilla will then be downgraded to Dowager Queen. What the hell is that? A Dowager Queen is a former queen consort who has become a widow after her husband, the king, has died. She retains the title of queen, but is no longer the reigning monarch. Now, in real terms, that means that Camilla won't have the same kind of power she enjoys now. Now, many of you might recall that prior to Elizabeth's death, it was, and I quote, her sincere wish for Camilla to be known as Queen Consort. However, in an unprecedented act of defiance, Charles, immediately upon his mother's death, changed Camilla's title to the Queen. Notice the key word in this article, folks, unprecedented. That means it's never happened before. Now, for all the royalists out there, this should be considered a monumental act of betrayal, considering how seriously they take their royal traditions. But they seem to be okay with it. I remember a few weeks back, someone in the comments told me, you need to use the clinical definition of a narcissist to describe Meghan Markle. But no one looks at Camilla's behavior and sees anything that checks off the list. One would also think that the press would make a bigger deal out of this betrayal of Queen Elizabeth's wishes. But folks, just listen to this mealy-mouthed explanation by the British press. It made sense to refer to Her Majesty as the Queen Consort in the early months. Why does the press downplay this? Now let's do a thought experiment here, folks. Can you imagine if this was anyone else? But not Camilla. She gets to fly under the radar. Now, is there any doubt who controls the press? And don't for 1 second believe that this is all at the insistence of Charles. This is all Camilla, folks. She has a way of finagling what she wants and flying under the radar while the press gives her cover. And she will gladly sacrifice to the press any other family member in order to deflect from the fact that all these machinations are of her own design. If you notice, it was initially reported that William and Kate were the reason for Andrew's eviction from Royal Lodge. However, in an understated check on Camilla, William made it clear he has no plans of moving to the estate. So naturally, the press changed the subject, now instead claiming that, oh, Charles just wants to rent it out. It's part of the slimming down and cost cutting, folks. Folks, don't be fooled. You should know by now that Camilla will never allow the press to make it known that she is the real reason why Charles wants his brother out of Royal Lodge. Camilla is no fool. She has witnessed firsthand that any bequests made by the monarch to even a family member can be pretty much revoked upon death. So there is no doubt that Camilla, despite her apparent alliance with William right now against their common enemy, now sees the writing on the wall. It was reported last week that Andrew, prior to his mom's death, wanted to secure an abode or special favor in the form of a home from his mom before she died. Andrew, no doubt, knew what was coming, but for him, it was too late. Now I'm willing to wager that Camilla has secretly secured an abode in the form of Royal Lodge from Charles, since he is the king, and that details of that can't be known until after his death. Both Camilla and William seem to be awaiting Charles's impending death. It was widely reported last week that William, in dramatic form, announced that he has banned his brother and only sibling from attending his coronation. Excuse me? So he's already fantasizing about his future coronation while his father is still alive. That's not very liege man of you, William. Folks, this is yet another example of the small character that this man has. It's as though he is anxiously awaiting his father's death just so he can exact revenge on his brother. And for what? Oh yeah, he wrote a memoir. Yeah, nobody ever does that, right? No famous person has ever written a memoir about their time, both good and bad, growing up in a famous family. That's like never happened before. But folks, the real reason for William's inexhaustible well of anger toward his brother is that he exposed him as a violent narcissist. This is why every report mentioning Harry, be it Invictus or contacting his father or Harry simply going about his everyday life, sends William into a fit of rage. And folks, mark my word, the minute William becomes king, he is going after Harry. We keep reading about how they should strip them of their titles. Let's strip them all of their titles. As if stripping Harry and Meghan of their titles is going to do what? Make them less popular? Devastate their lives? William, despite his enormous wealth, suffers from poverty of the mind. He really believes that useless things such as titles are what gives a person their value. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He has never been pushed to actually excel at anything. Being the vaunted male heir, everything has been handed to him. And so therefore, he is stuck in a cycle of mediocrity. And folks, this is why he is angry all the time. Because self-actualization, the highest of human needs, can only be achieved through some kind of sacrifice, some kind of exchange. And he has never had to sacrifice anything. So he doesn't understand why he is so frustrated. So he takes it out on the people around him. Like father, like son. It was revealed this week that the Balmoral Summit, the unofficial name given for their annual family reunion, that Anne and Edward are at loggerheads with Charles over his decision to boot Andrew from Royal Lodge. And folks, I have no doubt that they are acutely aware that Camilla is the one behind the scenes making a play for the property. Sarah Ferguson almost spilled the beans on a screaming match which took place between Charles and Andrew at Balmoral. And all for what, folks? For what? More properties, more possessions. Instead of leveraging this incredible privilege that they have been born into for the benefit of the people, they choose instead to squabble over things. What a pathetic lot. And where does Kate fall into all this? It was reported this week that Kate made a rare and unexpected appearance at church. Now, bear in mind, there are no actual photos of her in the church, just these pap shots of her sitting in a car with William. And here's the odd thing. The photo looks curiously familiar. In fact, one might even argue that these are the exact same photos of her in the car, going to the same church, wearing the same outfit last year. These are the same photos. What the hell are these people trying to pull here? Why is there so much mystery around her making these banal appearances? I mean, she was seen at Trooping and Wimbledon, so that should have satisfied the question about whether or not she's still with us. So why are they making such a big deal about her being seen in a car going to church? And why does it look like they used another recycled image? Is this just a publicity stunt to keep people talking? It's obvious that she is no longer acting in any royal capacity and that she is clearly living separately from William. Recently, AI allegations have resurfaced when they released this very odd video congratulating the British team returning home from the Olympics. Users on sites such as X were quick to point out the, let's just say, irregularities. There was this strange halo around their heads, not seen in any other cameos. And then there is, of course, the striped top, similar to the one seen in the now famous bench video. But Kate remains an enigma. We still don't know what happened last December, and she's not talking, and while she continues to not talk, the press will leave her alone and treat her like a saint. The Daily Beast recently reported that she probably won't be doing any more public appearances. The reason they give, of course, is her ongoing cancer treatment, which we were told initially was supposed to be preventative. Now, folks, look, here's what I think. I think Carol invested a lot into her daughter to become queen, and she's not letting that go. So whatever it is that Kate is going through, she is being pressured to endure it until her time comes and she will wear the crown. Then, perhaps through William, she will get her revenge on Camilla. Revenge for what, you might ask? Well, for saying things like she was pretty but dim, that she was unsuitable, that her parents were too common, for spreading a rumor early on in her marriage that she was infertile, for arranging dalliances with her husband in order to undermine her. Oh, yeah, there's going to be a lot of payback when William becomes king. But as far as the marriage between Kate and William, it's all a facade. It's been over for a while. I think she got tired of being cheated on, sidelined, and who knows what the hell happened in December that caused her to, let's say, be out of commission, at least for a while. I think during this time, Camilla may have tried to carry out her matchmaking, maybe as a form of intimidation. Oh, you want to go? Well, good riddance. We have your replacement here already. And I think Carol freaked out and maybe talked Kate back into playing ball. But now that she's back, I don't really know what to say anymore, folks. She's fine. Her kids are fine. What more is there to say, really? Did some weird shit go down? Absolutely. But unless she or someone in her birth family decides to spill the beans, we're never going to find out because Kate is playing the long game here and she's come too far to turn back now. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that sent kind wishes for my dog. He's doing a lot better. He had some down days, but he's going through treatment right now and giving him some natural remedies as well. And he's actually doing a lot better. A couple weeks ago, he looked like he was going to be a goner, but somehow he managed to bounce back. So he's a fighter. And I'll definitely try to keep up posting more regular videos. Probably a lot shorter videos because the long ones really just take too much time. So anyway, drop a line in the comments and let me know what you think about this whole situation. And I'll catch you in the next video.